February the 14th, Friday, 10:28 a.m. in the morning. I have Wi-Fi. Screen recorder is system UI. There's a 3 minutes, 31 second recording here, right here. There. Number 4. So this one here is taking 30 minutes. Number 3 took 40 something minutes to upload. Number 3 took 1 hour to upload. So number 4 is uploading now. Number 3 took 1 hour to upload. So I'm using Wi-Fi again. I'm using Wi-Fi. And this takes 30 minutes. 3-minute video, 3.5-minute video takes 30 minutes to upload. And that's quite fast using Wi-Fi. So nothing new. Tampering in progress. Slow Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Welcome to Kachina Plaza. Tonight we're going to be making some keto. So we're going to be using a new ingredient called lupin flour. So I recently got this flour online. I found this recipe, tweaked it a little bit. Haven't tried it yet, but I've made homemade pasta before, and if you haven't made homemade pasta, it's very easy to do. And it requires eggs. So we got a couple eggs, got lupin flour, and put a little bit of salt in there. We got a little xanthan gum. So xanthan gum kind of to hold it together, a little bit more than the eggs. So lupin flour has 11 carbs, but it has 10 fibers. So its net carb per quarter cup is uh, one, one carb. So incredibly low carb. There's really no carbs in the xanthan gum, the salt, or the eggs. I've got a little oat fiber for dusting that I put into this bowl. Oat fiber is 0 carbs. So really, really low carb. We're going to see how this works. And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do first for this. Now, if this was flour, I would not be doing this with regular flour. But being as this is um, lupin flour, lupins come from a bean. So it's not going to stretch like having gluten in there. So it is going to be a little bit different. This will be more like using gluten-free flour to make pasta if you've ever done that. Doesn't hold together, doesn't bind together. Gluten gives it the gluey like structure to stretch. This is not going to do that. So I have two pieces of equipment here. So this is my food processor. I got my KitchenAid with my pasta attachment on there. I also have a hand roller too, but for ease of use, we're going to do this. So I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. So the eggs are going to go in first. So the reason the eggs are going to go in is because I'm going to put the salt into the eggs, and we're also going to put the xanthan gum in there as well. So those are going to go in first. Flour will go in last. And the reason why is I want them all to dissolve a little bit while they're in there. So a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of xanthan gum, 2 eggs, very easy, very quick.
Live for bluebird days and starry nights. For big smiles and the scent of pines on breeze, you embrace nature and culture. You are the mountain kind, and you owe it to yourself to visit Park City, Utah.
Got that fall stuff. So it looks like we have some stuff sticking to our side. So we're not going to go real long on these eggs, but they are. So I have 2 pieces of equipment here. So this is my food processor. I got my KitchenAid with my pasta attachment on there. I also have a hand roller too. But, for ease of use, we're going to do this. So I'm going to do this a little bit backwards. So the eggs are going to go in first. So the reason the eggs are going to go in is because I'm going to put the salt into the eggs, and we're also going to put the xanthan gum in there as well. So those are going to go in first. Flour will go in last. And the reason why is I want them all to dissolve a little bit while they're in there. So a teaspoon of salt, teaspoon of xanthan gum, 2 eggs, very easy, very quick. And we got that fall stuff. So looks like we have some stuff sticking to our side. So we're not going to go real long on these eggs, but they are mixed for now. Okay. And we are going to start out with only 3/4, using 3/4 of this cup of lupin flour. So you don't want to use quite all of it just yet. It may not need all of it. I have a feeling it will. I'm using extra large eggs, so that's about a 1/4 cup left in there. Okay, so this dough is still a little bit sticky. It probably won't be so sticky. So I'm going to add the rest of this flour to there. Now, when I filled up the cup of flour and then poured it into here, I poured it from the bag into the cup, so it's not compacted as you're filling it up. So it probably will need all of this. Dancing around the bowl is probably a good thing. All right. So we got this nice bright colored dough here. And most of it has come clean out of this machine. And we're going to need this KNEED, not NEED. So we're going to take a little bit of the oat flour, sprinkle it onto the counter. You pan it down here a little bit. So we're going to make sure that this is completely mixed up. So we'll have a little bit of oat flour in there, not too much though. And then we're going to let this sit and rest for about 20 minutes. So there's really no gluey like texture that you're going to get out of this, because that's what the job of gluten actually is if you were using regular dough. So it sticks to my hands just a little bit. I think that'll be okay. So just want to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. Using the food processor takes a lot of the legwork out of doing that. And you'll notice it didn't have to stay in there too long to get this complete consistency through here. So, right. So this will have a little bit of a crumbly texture from what I understand working with this dough. But this is going to be 4 portions of this, 4. So use the sticky fingers, that back on there as best as we can. All right, we're going to put this in this cup here. I'm going to cover this with a piece of plastic wrap. We're going to come back in 20 minutes and I'm going to start rolling out dough. All right, we're back and I quartered that piece of dough. Not that sticky, but it's just a little bit sticky. So we're going to flatten this out as best as we can. So did a practice one on this. So I'm going to show you guys what I did. So I've got a little bit of, this is oat fiber that is on here. So oat fiber, no carb, again. Okay. Just flatten it out as best as we can. Up here to the KitchenAid. So this will look kind of like a shaggy mess as it goes through. We're going to set this on 1. That's the biggest one. So the thinner you can get this pressed out or rolled out, the easier it's going to go through here. So this will not look pretty and clean out of the gate. I want to show you guys what it looks like. So it looks like it's all torn up. Okay, we're going to fold this over on itself. Okay. I've got some oat fiber all over this silicone mat. If you don't have a silicone mat, you should get one. Okay. Maybe even fold this in like so. Okay. Back up. So this is called laminating. So I'll see if I can maybe move this. So this is called laminating when you fold it over like this. So okay. This will probably take 5 or 6 times of doing this. So I'm going to take the edges that are rough right here. We're going to fold them over too. Give them a really hard press. Okay. These shaggy edges. So it's a nice square piece, or close enough to square, right? So you see it's starting to come together. It's not looking so shaggy. So we're going to give this one more fold like this and move on to the next step. Okay, so every time this comes off, then I'll put a little bit more oat fiber on there. And put it to 2. There's 2. I'll move it to 3. Try not to jump spots. You don't want to go too fast as you're putting this through. Make sure you clean up your edges a little bit. 3.
Experience luxury in every drive with a Buick Envision. Quiet tuning technology creates a serene interior, while ambient lighting enhances the perfect mood.
Hi, thank you for joining me. My name is Jolene Morris, and in this video, I will show you how I make my loop and flour 90-second bread to make sandwiches, to serve at dinner as avocado toast, or to serve at breakfast with jam or keto honey. Here is the 90-second bread recipe that's very similar to the 90-second bread recipes you may have seen for almond flour. Even without the optional sweetener, I find this bread to be almost sweet and definitely bread-like. Let me show you how I make it. I have the 5 ingredients ready. I used to make this 90-second bread in a ramekin, mug, or this Corningware stoneware. After it was cooked, I had trouble getting the bread out of the dish in one piece. And after cooling the bread, I had to cut it in half horizontally, but I could never cut it perfectly. It was frustrating. Starting about a month ago, I began making them in the same silicone 6-cavity mold that I use to make my keto hamburger buns. Although that mold is non-stick, I spray it with oil for good measure. The bread comes out perfectly, and I am no longer having to cut it in half horizontally. Okay, let's start. In a small bowl, add 1 egg, 1 tablespoon heavy whipping cream, and 1 tablespoon melted butter or ghee. Whisk these wet ingredients very well. I usually use a wire whisk, but for this demo, I thought I'd try this pogo whisk that Steve from Serious Keto suggests. It works very well for the wet ingredients, but it doesn't work as well after I add the dry ingredients. I'm going back to using the wire whisk tomorrow. Add 1 tablespoon Lupin flour and 1 teaspoon baking powder. I'm going to serve these toasted with jam, so I don't need the optional sweetener today. Mix well and scrape down the sides as needed. Here's where I miss the wire whisk, but I won't dirty another tool today just for these. I'll use a number 40 scoop to scoop out 2 equal servings of batter. A number 40 scoop holds exactly 2 tablespoons, but I'll use a heaping scoop of batter into each of the 2 cavities of the mold. Now, here's a tip I learned after making dozens of 90-second bread batches. Cut into the batter with a spatula to even out the batter and to make sure there are no big air pockets. I no longer have large holes in my bread. Put it in the microwave for 90 seconds. You may need to adjust the time depending on the power of your microwave. My microwave is 1800 watts. 90-second works perfectly for me. After taking them out of the microwave, allow the bread to cool for 10 to 15 minutes, still in the molds. Then, using a small spatula, I loosen the sides and make sure the bottoms are going to release cleanly. Then I invert them on the wire rack so they come out. Perfect. After removing them from the mold, leave them upside down on the wire rack so the bottoms cool and dry out. And there you have it. 2 slices of Lupin Flour 90-second bread. You could
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy edges. It's no ordinary square. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has wavy perforations that tear so much better, with more cushiony softness. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Texas was waiting and wondering and worried.
Back to my YouTube channel, I don't sugarcoat. Today, I'm so excited, you guys. I'm so excited because I get to share with you guys a recipe that I have been wanting to share with people since the first time I made it. And this is a recipe, you guys, that has changed the game of keto eating for me the last couple of months. And mostly because I am using something that is brand new to me, a wonderful new ingredient that I have been using. It's not necessarily new, it's been out there, but I didn't know about it. And
Welcome back once again, all of my low-carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today we have a little bit of a different video for you. Today I am going to do an experiment with Lupin flour. Now I know many of you have probably already heard about it. Some of you might even use it on a regular basis, but I always feel as opinions and some people always cautious. Sample it. We're gonna try the is not all comes from a and I just kind of redacted a few things. I like him. Something like that. How to taste, but others say that it's recipes. I'm going to use the same recipe. And see how it goes. See if you like either one of them. Subscribe and let's get this. My oven is 400 degrees. Grease or fine 6 to 7 muffin cups. If you're using but if you're using the coconut and liquid flour mix, it'll be 7. In a small mixing bowl, sift together 25 grams or around 2 tablespoons of the granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. You can use whatever granulated sweetener you want. Add 49 grams or around a half cup of lupin flour. If you're wanting to make these the coconut lupin flour mix, then you would use 30 grams or around 5 tablespoons of lupin flour and 21 grams or around 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. Add a fourth teaspoon of xanthan gum or cognac powder and a half teaspoon of baking powder. Sift everything together until everything is fully combined and there are no lumps in the dry ingredients, and set it aside for a minute. Mix will be 7. In a small mixing bowl, sift together 25 grams or around 2 tablespoons of the granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. You can use whatever granulated sweetener you want. Add 49 grams or around a half cup of lupin flour. If you're wanting to make these the coconut lupin flour mix, then you would use 30 grams or around 5 tablespoons of lupin flour and 21 grams or around 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. Add a fourth teaspoon of xanthan gum or cognac powder and a half teaspoon of baking powder. Sift everything together until everything is fully combined and there are no lumps. Let's get cooking. Preheat your oven to 400 degrees. Grease or line 6 to 7 muffin cups. If you're using just the lupin flour, it'll be 6. But if you're using the coconut and lupin flour mix, it'll be 7. In a small mixing bowl, sift together 25 grams or around 2 tablespoons of the granulated sweetener of your choice. I'm using granulated monk fruit sweetener. You can use whatever granulated sweetener you want. Add 49 grams or around a half cup of lupin flour. If you're wanting to make these the coconut lupin flour mix, then you would use 30 grams or around 5 tablespoons of lupin flour and 21 grams or around 3 tablespoons of coconut flour. Add a fourth teaspoon of xanthan gum or cognac powder and a half teaspoon of baking powder. Sift everything together until everything is fully combined and there are no lumps in the dry ingredients, then set it aside for a minute. In a large mixing bowl, combine 123 grams or a little over a half cup of room temperature Greek yogurt or sour cream. I'm using vanilla Greek yogurt because I think a flavored yogurt will help tone down any bitter taste that the lupin flour might have. Add 1 large room temperature egg. If you're using the lupin flour coconut flour mix, then you'll need to have 2 eggs. Because we all know that coconut flour soaks up a lot of moisture, so you'll need 2 eggs if you're using the lupin flour coconut flour blend. Add 27 grams or around 1.5 tablespoons of butter that's been melted and cooled. Stir everything together until everything is fully combined. Add the bowl of your dry ingredients to your wet ingredients. Then stir everything together until a smooth batter forms. Divide the batter evenly between your prepared muffin cups. Again, if you're using just the lupin flour, it will be 6 biscuits. If you're using the coconut lupin flour mix, it will be 7 biscuits. Use a butter knife and spread the batter evenly throughout each cup. Make sure you keep the top of the biscuits nice and even. Top each muffin with a 1/4 teaspoon of cold butter. Bake in the preheated oven at 400 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes or until the biscuits are golden. Once the biscuits are done baking, remove them from the oven and allow them to cool in their molds for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're firm. After 15 to 20 minutes, remove the biscuits from their molds. You can serve these immediately or you can place them on a cooling until a smooth batter forms. Divide the batter evenly between your prepared muffin cups. Again, if you're using just the Lupin flour, it will be 6 biscuits. If you're using the coconut Lupin flour mix, it will be 7 biscuits. Use a butter knife and spread the batter evenly throughout each cup. Make sure you keep the top of the biscuits nice and even. Top each muffin with a 1/4 teaspoon of cold butter. Bake in the preheated oven at 400 degrees for 15 to 18 minutes or until the biscuits are golden. Once the biscuits are done baking, remove them from the oven and allow them to cool in their molds for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're firm. After 15 to 20 minutes, remove the biscuits from their molds. You can serve these immediately, or you can place them on a cooling rack and allow them to cool to room temperature.
These are the Northwest Florida beaches. We're trying something new.
CBC News is now. The widow dating a much younger. So you're gonna hear
There, it's Steve from Serious Keto, and one of my very first sort of breakout recipes on this channel was for a keto corn tortilla. And I'll link to that at the end of this video if you're curious to watch that. I was really proud of that recipe. It was basically a 2 net gram of carbs tortilla that tasted like a corn tortilla because it had baby corn in it. Of course, that really sort of lit up the more dogmatic clean keto people who made sure to let me know about it in the comment section. That didn't really bother me all that much, but what did kind of bother me was that it was sort of a labor intensive sort of a recipe. It wasn't the sort of thing that you could just whip up in an instant. And I wanted to make an easier, low carb, clean keto tortilla. I was really struggling on how to get this tortilla to meet all of my ideal tortilla criteria until I saw a video for naan by Vernaz over on her channel, Low Carb Cooking and Having Fun, where she used paneer, an Indian cheese. Now I'll talk more about paneer when we get into the actual recipe, but I just want to make sure I give credit where credit is due, and I would have never come up with this had it not been for Vernaz. So I will link to her recipe, the inspirational recipe, down below in the description. Check out these tortillas here. This is the last batch I made. These are pliable, yet quite strong, very sturdy, spectacular for enchiladas. And it smells kind of like a Dorito. So let's get into making the recipe. If there's any tips or sides or things like that that I need to share with you, we'll do that as we're cooking. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video because I will cover proactively all of your substitution questions. Now let's go. In the fairly small mixing bowl, we will start with 1 tablespoon or 11 grams of hemp hearts. To this, we will add 1 tablespoon of
And it's
Lupin
re-uploading
flour, 9
again.
grams, 2 tablespoons of psyllium husk powder. That's about
It's
25 grams.
re-uploading.
1 teaspoon of xanthan, that's about 4 grams. Optionally, you can add 1 teaspoon or again about 4 grams of taco.
It's re-uploading.
Be aware that some brands of taco seasoning do have cornmeal.
Amazing.
So take a peek at the ingredients, make a decision if that's too dirty for you.
There we go. It says 1 uploading here. It changes all the time. Where it says your videos, sometimes it says 1 uploading, sometimes it says nothing. Oh no, it says something else. Anyways, yeah, 1 uploading. Okie dokie. So it's re-uploading again.
Next, we're going to measure out 200 grams of paneer. 202, I'm going to call that close enough. I'll cut this into cubes.
And it wouldn't show the time remaining.
It crumbles more rapidly because it just dance on top of the blades. So as I said, paneer is an Indian cheese. I buy this brand at Costco. It's a little over 2 pounds. Sort of a labor-intensive sort of a recipe. It wasn't the sort of thing that you could just whip up in an instant. And I wanted to make an easier, low-carb, clean keto tortilla. I was really struggling on how to get this tortilla to meet all of my ideal tortilla criteria until I saw a video for Naan by Bernaz over on her channel, Low Carb Cooking and Having Fun, where she used paneer, an Indian cheese. Now we'll talk more about paneer when we get into the actual recipe, but I just want to make sure I give credit where credit is due, and I would have never come up with this had it not been for Bernaz. So I will link to her recipe, the inspirational recipe, down below in the description. Check out these tortillas here. This is the last batch I made. These are pliable, yet quite strong, very sturdy. Spectacular for enchiladas. It smells kind of like a Dorito. So let's get into making the recipe. If there's any tips or sides or things like that that I need to share with you, we'll do that as we're cooking. And make sure to stick around to the end of the video because I will cover proactively all of your substitution questions. Now let's cook. In a fairly small mixing bowl, we will start with 1 tablespoon or 11 grams of hemp hearts. To this, we will add 1 tablespoon of flour. That's about 9 grams. 2 tablespoons of filling musk powder. That's about 25 grams. 1 teaspoon of xanthan gum. That's about 4 grams. Optionally, you can add 1 teaspoon, or again, about 4 grams of taco seasoning. Be aware that some brands of taco seasoning do have cornmeal and sugar in them. So take a peek at the ingredients, make a decision if that's too dirty for you or not. And finally, 1/2 teaspoon of sea salt. As with all of my recipes that use xanthan gum, I always mix the dry ingredients together first to avoid any sort of clumping. Now we'll set this aside. Next, we're going to measure out 200 grams of paneer. 202, I'm going to call that close enough. I'll cut this into cubes so that when I put it in the food processor, it crumbles more rapidly and doesn't just dance on top of the blades. So as I said, paneer is an Indian cheese. I buy this brand at Costco. It's a little over 2 pounds, a little less than a kilogram, $9.50 Costco. It is also a pretty easy cheese to make. If you'd like to make your own, just Google it, or I'm sure there's some other YouTube videos on making paneer. Next, we're going to run that paneer through our food processor until it's sort of like a meal type of texture. I find about 8 long pulses is usually what it takes to get it to where it needs to be. There you go. You can see the texture that we're shooting.
All right, so I'm going to stop uploading now. This will go on forever. That's just the way it is. So it's 2 GB, and it's still going. And now I'm going to stop uploading. I'm going to stop recording and stop. And if it doesn't say stop, I haven't stopped yet. If it doesn't say stop, this recording has been cut and stop.